When you glance at a map of America, your eyes are probably drawn to the glitter of big cities or the vast, breathtaking landscapes. But look closer. Hidden deep within the endless web of highways lie small communities with dark, lingering secrets. These aren't just abandoned towns. These are places scarred by history, swallowed by nature, or broken by their own people. Places where the American promise of peace and freedom has twisted into something far more disturbing. In this video, we're diving into 15 of the most unsettling small towns in America. Places that don't just make you uncomfortable, they make you want to forget you were ever there. Because once you cross their borders, you might never come back the same. Let's begin with a place that defies everything you expect from a town. Despite the name, there's no miracle in Miracle Village. Tucked away in the quiet sugarcane fields of South Florida, not far from Pahokee, this village stands out for a reason that leaves most people speechless. Originally built in the 1960s to house sugar field workers, it now serves a much different purpose. Miracle Village is a social experiment, home to hundreds of registered sex offenders, all living in one concentrated, highly monitored community. Imagine walking through a neighborhood where nearly every adult male carries a deeply disturbing criminal history. The fear doesn't come from what's visible, but from the collective awareness. This is a place where the darkest pasts gather quietly under the Florida sun. With extremely low rent, Miracle Village attracts those rejected by other towns. It's not just a community, it's an open-air prison disguised as peace. To outsiders, the calm feels manufactured. A thin curtain pulled over a place where trust never quite exists. Still want to visit? Sometimes the danger doesn't come from outsiders, but from within. Skidmore is a town where the most terrifying stories aren't whispered. They're remembered in silence. For years, the town lived under the shadow of Ken McElroy, a violent local bully whose criminal acts included assault, arson, and attempted murder. But the law never seemed able to touch him. Then, in 1981, justice came, but in the most chilling way possible. McElroy was gunned down in broad daylight on the main street in front of over 40 witnesses, and not a single one came forward. The case remains unsolved, not because the killer vanished, but because an entire town refused to speak. Skidmore became a place where silence was louder than law, and fear held more power than truth. If Skidmore is a town where morality failed, then Colorado City is where it was rewritten entirely. This remote town on the Arizona border is the stronghold of the FLDS, the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, a radical offshoot of mainstream Mormonism.
Obey the prophet when he speaks, and you'll be blessed. Disobey him, it is death.
Under the leadership of Warren Jeffs, now serving a life sentence, Colorado City became a fortress of religious control and abuse. Here, girls as young as 12 were forced into marriages with older men in the name of faith. Families were split, dissenters were exiled, and everything happened behind clean, quiet fences and rows of nearly identical homes drive through Colorado City today, and you might not notice anything at first. But behind every silent street lies a chilling legacy of control, polygamy, and religious extremism. Not all threats come from within. Some arrive smiling at your front door. In the early 1980s, the tiny town of Antelope, Oregon, became the epicenter of one of America's most bizarre and terrifying cult invasions. That cult? The Rajneeshees, followers of Indian guru Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, an enigmatic spiritual leader who rejected traditional religions in favor of radical enlightenment, dynamic meditation, and global expansion. They built Rajneeshpuram, a massive commune just outside Antelope. At first, it looked like a peaceful spiritual movement until it wasn't. When their efforts to take over the local government failed, the cult launched America's first bioterror attack. They poisoned salad bars in nearby towns with salmonella, sickening over 750 innocent people. Antelope was never the same. This wasn't just a political dispute. This was terror delivered with a handshake and a friendly smile. It remains a haunting lesson. Sometimes the most dangerous invaders are the ones who promise peace. When society breaks down, what's left? Deep in California's blistering Sonoran Desert lies Slab City, often dubbed the last free place in America. No laws, no taxes, no police, just slabs of concrete where a former military base once stood, and the people who chose to disappear from the world. Slab City is a paradox, part art colony, part survival zone, part outlaw haven. Its residents are a strange mix: wanderers, outcasts, free spirits, ex-cons, and doomsday preppers, all coexisting in a lawless, sun-scorched wasteland. Here, chaos is the default setting. You build your shelter, find your own water, make your own rules, or live by none. Some call it freedom, others call it madness. Slab City isn't haunted by ghosts. It's haunted by reality, a place where the American dream comes unfiltered, raw, ungoverned, and sometimes downright terrifying. From lawlessness to something even more unsettling, law gone wrong. Everyone's heard of Salem, but few grasp the true horror behind its legacy. This isn't just a spooky New England town. It's a place where mass hysteria became policy and innocent people paid with their lives. In 1692, more than 200 people, mostly women, were accused of witchcraft. Fueled by fear, superstition, and neighborly grudges, the trials turned into a brutal purge. 19 were hanged. Others died under torture or perished in cold, cramped jail cells. And for what? Rumors, lies, a society that chose fear over reason. Even now, Salem carries that weight. They've turned their shame into tourism, but many believe the air still hums with the injustice that was never set right. Some say the spirits of the wrongfully executed still linger, not to haunt, but to remind. Some horrors aren't born from human hands. They rise from the earth itself. Welcome to Centralia, Pennsylvania. Since 1962, an underground coal fire has been burning non-stop beneath the town. What started as a small blaze turned into an unquenchable inferno that devoured streets, forests, and lives from below. Toxic smoke seeps from cracks in the asphalt. Trees die standing. The ground crumbles without warning, swallowing anything above. Today, Centralia is all but abandoned. What remains is a fractured road known as Graffiti Highway, and an atmosphere so grim it feels like the earth itself is rejecting the town. This is a fire with no end, and a nightmare that refuses to die. If fire is the horror you can see, then poison is the one you can't escape. Picher, Oklahoma was once a thriving mining town until the ground beneath it turned toxic. Years of zinc and lead mining left behind piles of waste, contaminating the soil, air, and even drinking water. Children showed signs of lead poisoning. The land began collapsing, and so the government stepped in. Declared a Superfund site, Picher was deemed too dangerous to live in. Thousands were forced to abandon their homes, not because of natural disaster, but because of human greed. Now, Picher stands as a chilling monument to industrial destruction, a ghost town soaked in chemicals, crumbling under its own poisoned legacy. Now, head north, way north, to a place where the cold isn't the only thing that isolates you. Welcome to Whittier, Alaska. Population, about 200, and nearly all of them live inside one building. It's called the Begich Towers, a 14-story concrete block that contains homes, a post office, a grocery store, a laundromat, even a police station. Everything you need under one roof. And when winter hits, you don't leave. Whittier is cut off by a narrow, heavily restricted tunnel that closes at night. Once it shuts, you're locked in. Nowhere to go. No one gets out. The silence is heavy. The concrete hums with tension. And with nowhere to escape, even the smallest conflicts can grow into something dangerous. Whittier isn't abandoned. But sometimes isolation is more frightening than emptiness. The name may evoke images of ancient pyramids and distant sands, but this Cairo tells a very different story. Situated at the strategic confluence of the Mississippi and Ohio rivers, Cairo, Illinois was once a bustling river port city, marked by grand architecture and the promise of American prosperity. But by the mid-20th century, that promise was shattered. Racial violence, civil unrest, and unchecked crime tore through the community, leaving deep scars. Rather than confront the chaos, residents and businesses chose to flee. Entire neighborhoods were abandoned. Today, Cairo stands as a ghost town haunted not by the supernatural, but by the very real consequences of division, hatred, and silence. A city slowly destroyed from within and left to decay in the shadow of its own history. From slow decay to absolute isolation, deep within the rugged mountains of West Virginia lies Thurmond, a town long forgotten by time. Tucked inside the New River Gorge, this once thriving railroad hub is now nearly inaccessible. Its remoteness sealed its fate, and the trains that once powered its economy have long since vanished. What's left is a hauntingly preserved town, silent streets, abandoned buildings, and a chilling stillness that feels like time simply stopped in the 1930s. There's no traffic, no chatter, just the sound of wind and the distant rush of the river. In Thurmond, the quiet doesn't bring peace. It presses down, heavy and unbroken, like the forest itself is listening. This isn't just a forgotten town. It's a frozen moment in history that never thawed. Not all towns are haunted by history. Some are haunted by what was never resolved. In the small town of Villisca, Iowa, a tragedy from over a century ago continues to cast a shadow. In 1912, 8 people, including 6 children, were brutally murdered in their sleep with an axe. No one was ever convicted. No killer was ever found. The crime, senseless and savage, left more than just victims. It left an open wound. Today, the house where it happened still stands, preserved as it was. and is widely believed to be one of the most haunted locations in the United States. Visitors report hearing footsteps when no one's there, feeling sudden drops in temperature, and even hearing the cries of children late at night. Some say the victims are still there, trapped and waiting for justice, for peace, or simply to be remembered. From a single blood-stained house, we now arrive at Gettysburg, perhaps the most haunted battlefield in America. And how could it not be? Over 50,000 soldiers died here in just a few days during one of the Civil War's most brutal battles. The scale of death was so massive, it left behind a paranormal imprint that refuses to fade. More than just legend, both locals and tourists frequently report seeing ghostly soldiers walking through the mist, catching the scent of gunpowder, and hearing distant war cries echoing from the hills. Here, every inch of soil is a grave, and the spirits of fallen soldiers still seem to wage an eternal war. From the horrors of war, we move to a town haunted by something stranger still. Point Pleasant, West Virginia, lives in the shadow of a legend, the Mothman. Described as a winged figure with glowing red eyes, this mysterious entity is said to appear as a harbinger of disaster. Sightings of the creature eerily preceded the tragic collapse of the Silver Bridge in 1967, which claimed dozens of lives. Was it a warning, a malevolent force, or perhaps just a collective hallucination born from fear? Whatever the truth, Point Pleasant exists in a strange twilight between myth and trauma, a place where the night sky never feels safe again. And finally, we end our journey in Alton, Illinois, a town that boldly calls itself the most haunted small town in America. Its claim isn't just bravado. Alton carries a long, painful history filled with war, disease, and violence. From its brutal Civil War-era prison to aging hospitals and historic hotels, nearly every old building has a ghost story tied to it. But in Alton, these hauntings aren't whispered in fear. They're part of daily life. Paranormal energy isn't something hidden here. It's woven into the town's very identity. Alton isn't just haunted, it's learned to live with the dead. From the burning grounds of Centralia to the silent streets of Skidmore, these 15 towns stand as chilling evidence of one truth. Horror doesn't live only in our imagination, it lives on the map. These places, forgotten by time and often erased from memory, bear witness to nature's fury, man's cruelty, and history's darkest chapters. They remind us that true terror doesn't always wear a monster's face. It sometimes looks like silence, neglect, or the human heart gone cold. So now the question remains, which of these cities sent a shiver down your spine?